Hey my beautiful friends, how's it going? Super quick energy update. I always say super quick, it could well be 25 minutes, who knows. I want to talk about the energy leading up to this eclipse, and also just some of the major transformational changes that are going on right now for me within my own life, it feels like the very structure of every single matrix that we live within right now, within every single industry, within the world, within our own spiritual concepts, within our own value systems. Everything feels like it is shifting, and it's leading us to this place where we are leveling up massively. The way it keeps being shown to me is we're being given the invitation to step into new levels of existence, into new levels of being, where everything around us may be changing, may look a little bit different, but within that we are upgrading our own operating systems. All the work that we've been doing could have been deconditioning us from certain viewpoints, from certain beliefs and ideologies, or thoughts about how the world can be. There was perhaps a set of rules which we lived by, the conditioning that we have acquired our entire lives, that now slowly, piece by piece, seems to have, the work we've been doing is in deconstructing that conditioning in order to open us up to the greatest bandwidth of our own potential within this reality, within our existence. And what feels like it's happening now is stepping away, stepping out of one way of being completely. It might be different for you, but this is how it feels for me. Stepping out of that old way of being. And it's kind of like we're in between worlds. And we know that there are parts of the old world, the old structures, our old ways of being that just don't fit anymore. We either don't want them, they don't resonate, we don't identify with them anymore. There are certain activities that we just won't engage in anymore. Our landscape looks very, very different, not just from the things that we're doing, but the ways we're showing up and expressing ourselves. Again, like I mentioned a moment ago, that value system, where are we putting the value of who we are, of everything in our world? What are we putting the emphasis and value on? Because again, the rule book seems to have changed, and it's not that all of the rules have been thrown out the window. We have literally gone to a place of upgrading, like I said, upgrading the operating system, deconditioning ourselves from a load of old ways of being, which means opening up to new. And in a very, very changing world, all of this new, at the moment, we have no idea where it's going. It feels like gateways have opened, and yet nothing is yet fallen into place. And again, I know I love a metaphor, especially imagery, because I feel like it helps me to explain things, but hopefully it helps you to understand what I'm trying to express as well. It feels like that time, and I know this is potentially an overused metaphor, between caterpillar and butterfly, in that state of nothingness. And in that state of nothingness, we might not know what's happening. We might not know what it is that we're doing. We might not know where we're going. We might not know how everything's going to look on the other side. For some of us, for myself, I'll say quite openly, I almost feel like some of the things that I used to do with my social media, with my business, with the way I showed up for my daily activities for life in certain aspects, it suddenly no longer feels like A, it's working, but B, it's necessary or viable in this changing world. So then it's like, okay, so we're in that space where it's time to grow, it's time to change. And it's not just within social media, it's within all of our, like I said, with all of our value systems of life. So in that space of nothingness, in the transformation, in those depths of our own personal growth and change, there is unlimited potential. And yet we're there, and it can feel really disorientating. It might not feel like there is unlimited potential. We could be looking back at the past and thinking, but this, but this, but this, but this, but this, and looking at the future and saying, but I don't know what's going to happen. And we can't hold on to either of those two things. We literally have to bring it back to the now. I was watching something earlier, and it was just explaining how things are going to change. Things have always changed, and when you actually sit down and look at how many things have changed within your own life, from say, it's interesting because I have like a very nearly teenage child now, and I look at how things were when I was her age to how they are now. The difference in what was considered normal then and now is enormous. We're talking about technologies that we never even imagined would have existed within our lifetime, and yet now it's a completely normal part of every day. And we might have felt intimidated or threatened by some of those changes, and our parents and our grandparents and all of our ancestors, it's inbuilt within us to fear change, and yet we're at the precipice of it, and finding the truest sense of self within these changes, to be able to adapt, to be able to let go of what we're ready to let go of, in order to fully step in to a new layer of self, to a new vision of self that is changing and adapting, not to suit our environment and the changes, but so that we can do what is necessary, so we can evolve to do what we need to do, what we are here to do, playing within the operating system, playing within the rule book of where we are right now. And I know that might not be for everybody, but I firmly believe that for those of us who feel quite mission-led, or that we are here to share something, to do something, some people might identify with the term starseed. It doesn't have to be that, because honestly, I think every single human has their purpose. But if you are feeling that call to express, to get to the depths of self, because there is something deeper, something more, something that you want to achieve, to have an impact, to leave some kind of legacy, in whatever way, spiritual, financial, whatever it is, we are being given the opportunity right now to really see with clarity what is outdated, and it's really interesting because they keep bringing to me to this vision of the concept of reality being like matrices with multiple overlays, and as we decondition parts of ourselves, it's like we enter that new stage. And I guess that's how we create our own version of reality, through our perceptions and our awareness of what we believe is possible. So really getting to the root of what we're ready to change, what we're ready to let go of, in order to move fully into something new, even if that new isn't fully and clearly defined, is going to be a really big process around these eclipses. I think there is an awful lot that is going to come to light. There is going to be a lot that comes to our awareness. This might be in unexpected or cryptic ways, but I can also see these repeating themes of, like the macrocosm, microcosm experiences, that we might see things play out on a large scale, big infrastructure changing, and then within our own lives we are having our own almost mirrored experience of some of these much bigger changes or stories that are unfolding, maybe truth coming to light. Sorry for wobbling the camera. We're seeing that within ourselves, within our own lives, within our own relationships on a personal scale. And it's possible to see as well these repeating themes within our own growth, within our own experience. And I will say, perhaps a lot of fears coming to the surface and fears coming to life. Perhaps there are some things that we have to face, and it's almost that recognizing just how powerful you are. For me personally, I recognize how my thoughts, my attention, the direction of my conscious energy can literally create situations perhaps in my life, positively and negatively. And I've been shown firsthand over the last, couple of months how some of my energy, when misdirected, can lead to things that I really don't want. But there is a lesson in that. There is magic in that. So whatever is going on, we can find the lesson within that experience and retain our level of being that we want to be, because a lot of it is being who we want to be in spite of what is going on. We cannot change the world around us. The world around us is guaranteed to change. We are going to adapt and change in the ways that feel appropriate to us, within our own personal experiences, within our own journeys, within what it is that we do, what it is that we want to do. And maybe some of these fears or perhaps negative experiences coming up are there not as a test, but as a reminder, of how far you've come, because they don't hit the same, even though you might be dealing with some really heavy or chaotic stuff. But you're also having the opportunity to, as I said, recognize the growth, but I don't want to call it a test because I really don't see it that way, but it's our job now is to be witness to the things that are going on, to focus the attention that we need on resolving situations, but recognizing we are not the problem that is going on in our life. That is an aspect of our experience. It could be huge, it could feel unsurmountable, but still it is not the totality of our being. And even if it was, then in that moment of awareness, of recognizing that it is something that we are doing, or being, or saying, or expressing, if that was the case, there is something that we can do about it. For the rest of the stuff, most chances are it is not 100% you, and you cannot put 100% of yourself into what you are dealing with. So there is this real need for us to say, okay, I can deal with this problem, I can do what I can do, I can give it this much energy, but beyond that, I know that I also need to invest in the practices that fulfill me, the things that bring me joy, even if it's for 5 minutes, even if it's for 10 minutes, even if it's just taking a long hot bath, reading a book, taking a walk in nature. And in that moment, fully committing yourself to being present in that moment and not being in the identification of this massive situation that might be overbearing. We can't be on 100% of the time dealing with this stuff, so we've got to give ourselves, we've got to build now those practices, that space, that head space, that headway was the word that was coming through, to give ourselves the freedom not to be in that energy all the time. That energy is going to come up. It's always going to come up. There is always going to be things, if we're dealing with other people or everyday life or children or bosses or relationships, there's going to be stuff outside of our control. And in that moment, we have to focus on what it is that we're going to do what needs to be done, do it in our best energy, as best as we can do in that moment, not beat ourselves up. And then when we have completed what we have able to do on that level for that moment, going, okay, now I'm going to pull my energy back and I'm going to do something that really nurtures me or fulfills me, because we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to be a person that is dealing with stuff but is still happy, or is still fulfilling, or is still taking care of themselves. Because again, I mean, this is where we come back to those value systems and, really understanding who it is we are and what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're changing and what it is that we're dismantling from all of our ancestral trauma or karma, or just the collective conditioning that we have acquired on our time through this experience and beyond that. This is where we create those inner shifts that take us to that next level. This is where we level up beyond and upgrade beyond our previous operating systems, and we change the rule book. our own rule book, not everyone else's rule book, our rule book. And then from there, we get just, it's going to shift everything. And again, there might be a lot of change and a lot of uncertainty, but it feels like the only constant within that is us and what we're going to do about it. So I'm going to wrap that up and leave it there. I'll do some runes for you as well, if I can do that without moving the camera once again. Apologies again for filming in my work shed, but for the time being my life is really very busy, and you know, just between motherhood and, you know, doing art and trying to run a business and doing like secondary work just to keep things moving so I can still do my art, you know, things are busy. So I will show up and film as much as I can, but it means that sometimes I have to film out in my work shed because I don't have as much space where there's not people. So let's get some runes for the current energy and leading up to these eclipses. I love it. We've got Kenaz, and it has come out in the reverse. Now for me, Kenaz in the reverse, people could literally look at this and think, oh, this is so, you know, negative. It's the literal mirror image, the black and white opposite of the initial meaning. For me, Kenaz, when it's in this position, speaks about turning inward, looking for enlightenment from within, as opposed to outer stimulus to provide clarity, guidance of the way. So for me, this is saying there is clarity, there is guidance that will come, but you actually need to tune inwards and listen to yourself now, and not just the higher spiritual self even, but listen to your body. Look at what is going on in your life right now, the positive and the negative. Look for that feedback, for what is aligning with your own value systems and what isn't. Your daily activities or a specific activity, how does it make you feel? Are you enjoying it? Do you want to do more of this one thing, or do you find that there is something that's constantly derailing you and pulling you away from all of the things that build you up and bring you joy? You know, what is this showing within you? And like I said, not just from your spiritual experience, but from the physical experience in your body, from how your stress levels feel, your nervous system feels. Do you get that tense feeling in your chest, or tightening in your stomach, or, you know, do you find yourself just tensing in your jaw or something when you have to do certain things or speak to certain people? It's definitely looking at the stimulus and your feeling around it in your life, and being able to understand it so that you can then find the enlightenment to move forwards. Or the literal version of enlightenment, what is being brought to light. Okay. Urus. Definitely being strong, being grounded, and really feeling into your roots, sure-footed. Now, there are things about you that you will know on a core, at a cellular level, and this would be a really good practice if this is something, if me saying that has just triggered in you like a, no it doesn't, I don't know that, then this could be a really good practice to really come back and say to yourself, okay, what do I know about myself for certain? Well, I can tell you one thing right now. The fact that you're here right now shows that you are interested in personal growth, in development, in spiritual development, in self-improvement, if you'd like to call it that, but also not just for you, but doing this deep inner work to create lasting and sustained change, not just for you, but for future generations. You wouldn't be here and have spent 20 minutes now listening to this video if you weren't at one level at least committed to doing that. So you should applaud yourself for that. Second thing I could say for certain about you is the fact that you, and this is again might sound a bit cliche, but you've already made it through all of your hardest days, everything life has ever thrown at you. You are here right now. That is literally the definition of this rune of Udus. it is strength, it is resilience, it is persistence, it is sure-footed. And you know what? It doesn't mean that we don't fall. It doesn't mean that we don't want to quit sometimes. It doesn't mean sometimes that we can be trudging uphill and we're sliding backwards, but it means we will keep going. Asking yourself, maybe do a reflective exercise where you go back and you can say, think of a difficult situation and give yourself positives, things that you did, things that you have been able to do, and maybe look at the repeating patterns. Look at what it is, because I am certain we have to look at these qualities within ourselves sometimes to realize how strong that we actually have been and are, and give ourselves credit for that, but also recognize where we're being so strong that we are just holding things together, maybe being stubborn, and it's time to lighten some of that burden. Okay, doesn't mean that we stop showing up for the things that we need to show up for, but sometimes we have to call back our energy, because just being strong and doing everything for everybody is the thing that is standing in our way when it comes to us fully being able to fly. And in that energy, when you are focused on nurturing and enriching yourself and living your best life, you bring a different energy to all those people around you, and you give them the opportunity to grow too. And I know that's a bit of a controversial point for some of us, especially within certain roles within society, perhaps as mothers. We feel like we have to do everything and we're completely responsible, whereas actually you still matter as well. We still show up every day, we do the things that we need to do, but we have to enrich ourselves as well, because we bring more to the table that way, and we're setting a really good example. Speaking of which, my time is nearly up. I said this would be about 25 minutes, didn't I? So let's get one more final rune. Pathray. And this hasn't come out in a collective reading in ages. Now this is the rune of creation, of alchemy. It's a very feminine orientated rune. It represents the cosmic womb, but it can also literally be referred to as a lockup of taking chances. Now what you put into it, you might not get a guaranteed result, but you also have to invest energy into the creation of something. There could be things that you want to create within your life, and I feel like this is actually saying trusting in the feminine magic of the world, regardless of gender. Your feminine energy as a creator, as a being, regardless again of any kind of gender identification, everybody has feminine and masculine energy within them, and the mastery of both is what we're here to do. So looking at your own feminine energy, how are you directing that into what it is that you are creating, and going a step back and saying, well, look, what is it that I'm focused on? What do I believe the outcome of this situation can be? Do I believe can I visualize myself being there? This thing that I want, this life that I want, this thing I want to do, can I visualize myself being there? Can I visualize myself living that lifestyle? And these are the questions we need to ask. We have to go there, and in that feminine energy go, well, I don't need to force everything. Sometimes I have to have faith. I have to have faith in myself, in the changes that are occurring. I have to have faith in my ability to encounter these changes and grow with them, and then breathe and live and allow for fate to move as it will. I just realised that it's nearly fate goes as it must. Yeah, that's the opening lines to Beowulf, I believe. Sometimes we have to believe and trust that things are working out, and that belief sometimes is a really, really powerful one to have on its own. So I will wrap this up. This is going to be a really highly transformative time, and it could be challenging for some of us. I'm not going to lie, that's the energy, that's the way it feels. But it feels challenging as in we're dismantling old ways of being, and in this place bringing in brand new ways of being, which are ultimately going to level up the game massively, and it's probably going to get us to where we want. But we need to be able to adapt and to change with these situations, and be willing to change within us what it is that we need to let go of, or whether that's beliefs about the world or whatever it is. We need to be able to allow ourselves to go there. So if you've made it to the end, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. I will certainly be back with more readings and videos as soon as I can, and it's just wonderful to be here. I'm very, very grateful for you watching. All of my art and things like that are over on Instagram. All of my official links will be in the description box below, and if I can help you with anything, feel free to email me, and I'll look forward to catching up with you. So I'll send you lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.